It's Fish at 6. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusted and trusted reporter. 36 years covering your Dallas Cowboys. And this week on the road, we are in Denver, beautiful Denver, Colorado. Somewhere behind me, the Rocky Mountains. And somewhere next to me, a gigantic Bronco and NFL guy. This is Benjamin Allbright. Benjamin, plug away. First of all, KOA, right, is our radio station.
That's correct. Yeah, KOA.
I know I don't look old enough, but I grew up on KOA way before they knew who you are and you who they are. It's the gold standard as far as I'm concerned, and has been for many years in Denver.
Well, you're a young man compared to KOA. We celebrated our 100th birthday earlier this year.
Yeah, I'm like a couple years behind him. Benjamin, of course, will be all over Cowboys Broncos, and we will be as well at cowboyscountry.com and on Substack. And here, of course, but at Substack, fishsportscowboys.substack.com. Benjamin, of course, has made his oats in some ways as a Broncos guy, but you're also as plugged in of any so-called local guy. You're about as plugged into NFL stuff as anybody out there, and you do it with a certain panache. Is that fair to say?
I think my detractors might call it something else, but I love it. We'll call it panache.
Ian Rappaport's a good friend of mine. I'm sure you have a relationship with him. He plays it down the middle. He's great at his job. He plays it down the middle. Benjamin's great at his job and does not play it down the middle. You're over here in the ditch. You're up there in the mountains. You're over here in the weeds. So let's talk about NFL trade deadline rumor stuff. And I know you've got all kinds of stuff about the league in general. Let's start with the Cowboys. You're 3-3-1. Jerry Jones, even today on my old radio station, 105 Through the Fan, talking about how you can kind of get the feeling maybe we're good enough. We got playoff aspirations. We should be a buyer. Do you think that as an NFL observer about the Cowboys?
Yeah, I do. The people were laughing, when they hired Brian Schottenheimer. And I remember tweeting out, Brian might be better suited to be a head coach than any of the other positions. And, I think that this team has caught a few bad breaks, but 3-3-1 is kind of like, all right, we need a little something. And we need a little something on the defensive side, to be honest with you. And so I do think the Cowboys are kind of want-to-be buyers here if the right defensive piece comes available. Now, we all know Dallas. We all know Jerry. Jerry's not going to tip his hand. He's not going to be out there making calls. He kind of lets it come to him a little because he feels like that gives him leverage. Sometimes that also causes him to miss some things too. But the Cowboys, I do believe they'll be looking at a defensive piece or two, see what's out there. There's going to be some pieces coming available. There's going to be pieces from Miami with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Not sure if you guys need the edge rush there, but those two guys could be available. The linebacker, Logan Wilson from Cincinnati, somebody you could look at. Cam Taylor-Britt, the corner, also from Cincinnati. So some of these teams that are going to be sellers are going to be multiple sellers. Cowboys might be able to swoop in, get themselves a defensive piece or two, and maybe that'll push them over the top.
Somebody this week decided to do Max Crosby media-wise, and we were first to the story saying the Cowboys have not called the Raiders on Max Crosby. And I know you've talked about it, especially you're an AFC West guy, so you probably have a pretty good feel about Max Crosby and what they in Las Vegas think about him as a player and vice versa.
Well, he is the piece they're building around. As a matter of fact, when those rumors came out, they had not Dallas had not called. Those rumors came out. The first thing they did was get a hold of Max and say, Max, we are not trading you. Don't pay attention to this internet stuff. It's all a bunch of hokum. You are the piece we're building around here in Las Vegas, and they got that straightened out right away. And Max Crosby, for his part, has not demanded any kind of move out of Las Vegas either. So that continues to be the way that is. No inquiry from Dallas. There have been calls from other teams. But nobody's. They're not trading him. So I would just put that one to bed.
Benjamin Allbright with us here, checking in from Denver. I'm checking in from northern Colorado as well. Let's go to Cincinnati, where you mentioned the linebacker. Give me your Trey Hendrickson.
I'm not sure Trey gets moved. We'll see. If Flacco and the Bengals continue to win, I think they hang on to that in the hopes that they can try to convince him to come back and sign back with them after this deal this year expires. I'm not sure they're going to be successful with that, but that's kind of their hope internally. And then the other side of that is when he leaves, if he does leave, they're going to be in line for a third-round compensatory pick anyway with the contract he signed somewhere else. So anybody that would try to get Trey Hendrickson would obviously need to beat that third rounder already just to be on the plus side of that conversation. conversation. So I don't think Trey's getting dealt. We'll see. If they lose, that could change the calculus. But as of right now, they've kind of got an optimism with Flacco in there. I don't think they're going to move him. Cam Taylor-Britt, though, he's become an afterthought. They need to move him. Probably winds up with the Colts, but we'll see. Lou Anarumo, obviously very familiar with him, and they're short corners right now. Logan Wilson has demanded a trade, or asked for one, from Cincinnati, the linebacker. He's somebody that could be on the block. I'm not sure. I don't think he's headed to the Colts, who have plenty of linebackers now after they've acquired Jermaine Pratt, who used to work with Anarumo in Cincinnati and then went to the Raiders and realized he made a mistake. Logan Wilson is going to be available, and that's one you might have your eye on.
Jets figure as sellers. Titans figure as sellers. The Cowboys probably would lean, if they could snap their fingers, probably defensive end. It would be the idea. But there's Quentin Williams in New York, and there's Jeffrey Simmons, who I just think is outstanding, in Tennessee. What's the latest there?
Well, Quentin Williams is a maybe. Somebody have to come up with the right price. I think Jermaine Johnson, in the end, is probably more likely out of New York to get dealt than Quentin, but Quentin's like the bait. We put a little rumor out here that we're willing to move him for the right price. We get people calling, and then we say, well, we're not going to do that, but could we interest you in this Jermaine Johnson over here? And that's kind of how that stuff kind of goes. So we'll see. The Jets, I don't think it's going to be a fire sale, but they are willing to move one or two pieces over there. Titans, they're willing to have the fire sale outside of Jeffrey Simmons, but they don't really have any pieces anybody else wants. You're a terrible football team. There's not a whole lot of pieces anybody really covets over there from the Titans. So I'm not sure if they're going to get anything done. But Simmons is a piece they say right now that they're not moving. We'll see how that goes. Miami's the one that I think everybody's got their eye on there. They got the two defensive end, Phillips and Bradley Chubb. I think if you're looking for an edge rusher, those are the two you ought to be looking at.
Let's go to this game. Once upon a time, Jerry Jones thought, Sean Payton's going to someday be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and it never quite came together. He's now got, even though you and others have been highly critical of, highly critical when he screws up. Yeah, that's fair. But 5-2 is 5-2, Benjamin Allbright.
It is, although we're 7 games in, and I don't know if his team's any good or not. It could just as easily be 2-5. I mean, I don't think they're losing the Titans or the Bengals games, but these other games have all come down to last minute. Last 3 games have been furious fourth quarter comebacks. You've had the Chargers and Colts games that went the other way that were last second field goals. There's no telling. This team is just catching breaks right now and being 5-2, but they could just as easily be 2-5. They've got a great defense. They're able to get after the quarterback. They do bring the pressure. They have a few busted plays here or there, but mostly pretty good across the defense. The weak area is the linebacker position and coverage. They're going to be without Dre Greenlaw, obviously suspended a game for running after the referee and threatening him, threatening physical harm to the referee. So they're going to be without him. But they have Alex Singleton and Justin Sternad. Sternad's played above his level. That's a name that people will probably get to know in the next year or two. Singleton, on the backside of his career, still has some athleticism, but not very good in coverage. So the tight end, covering the tight end continues to be a problem for this Broncos defense. On the offensive side, it's just been weird. They're not able to get it going. They've got things that work, like J.K. Dobbins running the ball, but Sean Payton's got to sit here and prove he's the smartest guy in the room and pad the touchdown totals for Bo Nix. And at the end of the day, we're getting inside the 5 and we're throwing 12 out of 13 times. Some of these are screen passes, a trick play to Garrett Bowles. Like, what are we doing throwing to the left tackle? Just run the ball in and be done with it. And so that's sort of the problem, is this team offensively tends to outsmart itself through the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden they do all the stuff that works in the fourth. They go up tempo, they run the football, they do hit the choice routes and the angle routes and go to Cortland Sutton up the seam, and all those things work. So it's going to be fascinating this week to see if Sean Payton hears this grumbling that's occurred over the last couple of weeks with his fans who have been on his case, frankly, about this play calling early and trying to throw the ball over the yard when running the ball is what's working.
Cowboys Broncos prediction from you, please, score-wise, if you wish.
Man, Dallas hadn't beaten Denver in a long time, but I'm worried about this one as a Denver fan. I actually, I'll tell you what, I'll give you guys my prediction that I already sent in. It's not going to roll out till Sunday, but I took Dallas in this one, 27-24. You look at the betting patterns on this one, too. The sharps are all on Dallas. The public's on Denver, but the sharps are on Dallas. So I'm a little concerned about this one. If it turns into a shootout, Denver definitely loses. If they keep it close, they've got a shot.
And one more thing to get a little personal with you, and you and I talked about this a few years ago. I gave up on Twitter X. I pretty much gave up on arguing with people, trying to establish, no, believe me, I'm telling you the truth. You haven't. You have decided, and I wonder if you think, A, hey, I just enjoy the joust, which is certainly part of it, or B, you think what I used to think was it's a mess out there, and somebody's got to take a big mop and clean it all up. Which is it for you? Because you have the jousting stick and you have the mop.
Nothing as altruistic as that. Now that Twitter is paid by interactions, it's super easy to stir them up a little bit by just bantering with them. To me, I feel like I always go into every conversation thinking, hey, if I can change one mind, then I did my job, on that kind of thing. So I go into it with that, but it's never with ill intent. I just meet people with the energy they give, and when they ratchet it up to a level that's name calling and snarky, hey, I'll pick up some mud and throw it too. I'm not, like you mentioned Ian, our good friend Ian Rappaport. Ian and I have talked about that before. Ian plays it right down the middle. He's professional and all that kind of stuff. He's like, why don't you do it this way? I'm like, I'm just not wired that way, man. I appreciate that you do it. I appreciate the way Adam does it, but I do it a little different.
Well, nobody's having more fun on social media than you are. Benjamin Allbright, where do we find you, by the way, obviously, on social media so we can go get into the joust?
Oh, you can unfollow me at Allbright NFL. It's a dumpster fire. I wouldn't follow me. So you got Allbright NFL in most places. And, of course, there's KOA. We're heard in like 32 states and like 13 countries or something. So you can always listen to us on KOA.
I really do mean it when I say you're about as plugged in as anybody. Even though you have a Bronco association, I think of you as an NFL guy, and I appreciate your insight and your friendship. Thank you, Benjamin.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you too, brother. Look forward to seeing you here this weekend.
We'll see you in the press box. Fish.